Thank you.
All right, it is recording, but the TV is not.
Feels like it's here.
Okay. Well, I think we might just have to go without the TV here. All right, everybody. I am going to call this meeting to order today since it is the January meeting and we will have to appoint a chairman. So your bylaws say I get the pleasure of doing that tonight. Oh, for it? That was a light one. I didn't want to like this. Okay, we're going to start with a roll call. So Ms. Ball is here and Mr. Williams is here, Mr. Kuby, Mr. Thaler, Ms. Newton, and Mr. Snyder is here. Let's all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, so one thing I want to start with, sorry, you might not see me behind this. Council did not appoint a liaison for Planning Commission. So just want to give everybody the heads up that that's where we're.
And so that's something that they're not going to, or they just have.
They will not for this year. Okay.
The reasoning was because they have a zoning administrator / town manager and a clerk at the meetings.
Okay. So let's just jump right into our agenda here. We're going to start with Section D, annual organizational meeting, and we're going to do the election of a mineral planning commission chairman. And I will take any nominations that you have.
I'll gladly nominate Mr. Kuby to continue his service.
Are there any other nominations before we open the vote? Okay, so we will take a roll call vote for to appoint Mr. Kuby as the chairman. So I will start with Mr. Snyder.
Yes.
Yes, Ms. Newton?
Yes.
Mr. Thaler?
Yes.
Are you guys, you abstain? Mr. William
Yes.
and Ms. Ball?
Yes.
Okay, you can have your gavel back. I was scared.
Thank you all very much. I think so. We've done now. Okay, we'll see the next order, but before that, thank you again. I think we got confident about last year. We still have a lot of things to do, but I think this could be another very successful year for us. And I look forward to working with all of you. And we'll proceed to the second order of business, which is the election of a vice chairman. So I'll open the floor for any nominations for vice chairman.
I'd like to nominate Mr. Snyder.
I'll second it.
For information, you don't need second on nominations, but it's okay.
Well, I was eager.
On this, and any regular business you do, of course, but not. Any other nominations? Did I hear a motion to close the nominations?
Motion to close the nominations.
I'll second that.
There you go. I'll just do that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Call the vote. We're not going to have anybody else, but still, we got to vote on show what the record was. That's just, that motion was to.
Oh, to close the vote. Gotcha. Okay, so
Motion is.
the motion to,
For, Mr. Snyder as
Yep.
vice chairman.
so Mr. Snyder will have to abstain. We're starting over here this time. Ms. Ball,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Kuby,
Yes.
Mr. Thaler,
Yes.
Ms. Newton, and he abstained.
Well, people don't have to abstain.
Oh, they can vote for themselves?
They don't.
Oh, okay. Do you want to vote?
And third, it's kind of a formality, like the appointment of the secretary. I will say in the past, planning commission didn't always have a staff person to be present for meetings. So it's a great pleasure that we do now. And I generally don't make motions as chairman, but I would strongly suggest that you consider making our clerk, Stephanie, be the secretary to the Commission on Entertainment. Second. No, I'm not making a motion.
Somebody else has a mo.
I make a motion. I second it.
Does anybody want to enter anyone else's name? Hearing none, I'll consider the nominations are closed and I'll ask for a vote from all of us for your clerk to the plan.
Surprise, something like that.
I'm a-
You're asking me to vote.
You can just. Okay, Mr. Snyder, Ms. Newton,
Yes.
Mr. Taylor, Mr. Cooley, Mr. Williams,
Yes.
and Ms. Ball.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
All right, congratulations, Jim. What else do we have to do? The first meeting of the year will always be according to our rules and bylaws, will be the organizational meeting. We want to go ahead to the bylaws, and you were provided a copy online, and you came by to pick it up. I'm sure there was one available in hard copy form. Having looked at it ahead of time, also having discussed it with Bethany and with Nicole, let's not interrupt my daughter. Pardon me. And let me silence that. There were a couple of things that I see that are pretty simple and basic, but probably need to be changed. But I'll ask if anyone else has anything, haven't looked at it, that they want to do first. Anything in the bylaws? I would suggest if you turn to that, it's behind tab D. And the pages are, so just start. So then if we're going to talk about something, it's page one, put one at the bottom, 2, 3, I think it goes through 9. Put the page number on there. That'll be one.
Nor it would have if I had included it in uploading it with the packet. So that's.
There you go. Anybody have any things that they noticed that they want to discuss?
Section 1, 2.
What page are you on? You're on page one.
The first page.
Yeah, okay.
Section 1, 2. I see only one subject can claim the attention, okay, at a time. I get that. But if something urgent comes up, what happens?
Well,
Excuse me.
so I would say the intent is to not get distracted by someone trying to move in another direction while something is on the matter. So the idea is that whatever's got the floor, that's what you discuss until you move. on.
Okay,
That would be my best
okay.
answer to that.
So we will make sure that everyone is involved in what we're discussing.
Yes.
Okay.
If you have any words to add to it to clarify that, feel free to.
No,
That's the intent as I think it's meant to be.
I mean, if we follow the Robert's rules, I
Right.
don't think you have any problem.
That's right. If things get off track and we go
And you're
somewhere, I should address it with anybody that's on the commission can address it and say, let's get back on topic.
And we are, on section 2, we are gonna change it to the third Thursday at 6:30.
Okay, so on page 1, that is one of the things you'll see there's a little bar to the left and it's in red. That's one of the items to discuss because it goes back to our October meeting where we talked about having a conflict and that we were and have been meeting the 4th Thursday. Prior to last year, it had been always on the 3rd Thursday. So we didn't come to a conclusion in October. We said we'd address it in January, which is why it's on here now. So the floor is open for discussion on that. Yes.
One of the things that was brought to mind is that when we moved it to this originally, there were times when the town council and the planning commission were basically back to back the same week.
Correct.
I can deal with that. These people have to work.
Well, it'll be one full week for them.
Go ahead.
So in your packets, we're going to be discussing the schedule. So there are options for that calendar because there are 4 months in the month where the planning commission and council meet on the same week. If you guys want to do that, that's fine. Just make it a busy week for us. We would prefer not because it doesn't give us time to get all your stuff into your packet for your meeting that maybe needs to be in there from the council because your packet goes out a week before the meeting. So it's completely up to you. But there are a few months in there that you are saying maybe switch it to the 4th Thursday of the month because it conflicts with the council meeting.
Okay.
Or you could keep it the 4th Thursday always. It doesn't matter to us. It's just, I wanted to note that's in the packet.
Well, how many months it's that we come with you?
Let's see.
There's 4 in the month, 4 meetings in a year that are compete with council on the same week. That's April, May, July, and October.
But we could not, I mean, we could meet like those 2 weeks on the 3rd or the 4th, whatever.
Or at the table and see what each one has. Or the compromise or the how to do it is either the 3rd or the 4th, or it will be one of those days. I mean, if it's a it's the same as the council, it will automatically go to the 4th. I know that's what Nicole had mentioned to me as a suggestion.
Let's start over here.
Lauren,
I had originally told you on the phone that third Thursday was fine for me, but I was confused about which week was the third Thursday.
okay,
I can,
and with further thought,
the fourth Thursday is actually the week that's better for me
is that right?
most months, but I can probably make the third work.
Well,
Obviously, I made it work this month.
so I had mentioned earlier that the 4th was my preference.
Okay.
That, you know, I preferred the 4th. So that's just my 2 cents.
Thank you. Yes, I've
Choked.
had chats and different things, so I'm hoping to work this out around the table. Right.
I'm actually okay with the compromise, if we can do the third Thursday and the 4th. Otherwise, if it's better for everybody to do the 4th Thursday. But I think it's better for our town staff to have the time to prepare our packets for us, and they give us time to actually read through the packets and prepare ourselves. So I think it's best to refer to them as to the schedule, as long as that works with everybody else in the commission.
Well, the one Thursday that I think of is Thanksgiving. That's always on the 4th Thursday.
That would end up being a conflict.
Yeah.
And Chris, to follow on that, Christmas would too, and in your packet, I just said like, these are, if you pick the 3rd, these are the dates, and the 4th Thursday, here are the dates. So in your thing, I just reverted back kind of without talking to anybody. Yeah, I was like, let's do it on the 3rd, so.
The 3rd,
Right. We moved it to the 4th.
you moved it to the 4th.
Yes.
And then got moved back to the 3rd.
Yeah.
It hadn't been moved back to the third. That's just what's been being talked about. It is now the 4th. Right.
So I
If
think,
we don't change anything.
right, if you don't change it today, right.
I like the idea of not having a lot of, well, this month it's, you know, it's Tuesday, it must be Beirut. And then easy enough to make the moves for the holidays and the end of the year. So I would go for the 4th week.
My 2 cents is, and I've told this to everybody that I spoke to, I don't care. It's either one works for me, but I do understand the difficulty it puts it on those months when the planning commission and town council both of you in the same week as far as getting the package prepared. being on top of that. The fourth Thursday, though, I think at times has been it's quite late in the month. It can be like the last every month and all. And you do talk about Christmas and Thanksgiving generally, or maybe it's just this year. It's a problem. I guess it wouldn't be every year. It just happens to be this year. It's not be a problem. Thanksgiving is always on Thursday. I got you. Christmas wouldn't necessarily follow the
Not
same way.
necessarily. I think this year.
I'll entertain, anybody want to discuss it more, fine, but otherwise I entertain a motion on that, and if we take care of this here, then we don't have to talk about it.
Yes, would it be beneficial to have it before the end meeting? The second Thursday.
Well,
that would
You want
put
the
it.
second Monday, so the second, you'd have to have it on the first Thursday.
so the problem is that the second Monday
See if I
sometimes
can pull up the
falls
calendar.
on,
The same week that the
Right.
first Thursday.
Got it.
Oh, right. Depending on
depending on,
the month.
right.
My other question is, we're gonna formalize this now, do we want to formalize the changes for December and November while we're at it?
Yeah, you could incorporate in that particular Thanksgiving falls on the fourth Thursday, is that what we're saying?
So the
It
motion,
would automatically go back and be held on the third. You can't move to Friday. I don't think we want to come in on Friday. And I don't think we come in on Wednesday, because I know that some people have problems with Wednesday from previous discussion. So it seemed from previous efforts that Thursday night was the best night.
Definitely the best.
Yeah.
Which we.
so the motion I would offer is that the planning commission for the year, this year, schedule its meetings for the fourth Thursday, except for the months of November and December, where we will move it to the third Thursday.
Sounds good. Do I hear a second to that?
I second that motion.
I got a motion from Jim and a second from Brian to have the planning commission in 2025. Automatically advertised and held on the third Thursday instead.
So we have those dates in there, which would be November 20th and then December 18th. Already marked.
That being said, call for voice count, voice call. Action on.
Can we call the date for each meeting really quickly?
Yeah.
For my own,
Yeah,
I feel like I've lost track here.
that's okay.
I was writing them down and now
That's
I'm.
okay. They're in your packet, but.
Oh,
that's
I'm
okay.
sorry.
That's all right.
Giants.
No, that's right. You can write them down.
I can, no, I don't need to.
Okay.
I just didn't realize they were in that.
They're in there. Yeah, it's the holiday schedule.
I see, under D,
Okay.
about 8 pages behind.
Hearing, I'll call for the all in favor of the motion that was made and seconded, say aye. Those opposed? Motion passes. So that is to be incorporated in any changes. We also agree as we move along, taking care of the bylaws. Again,
Yes.
we only got the created this past year, so this is our first time of looking at them. The idea is to do that each and every year. We have a chance to either just re-accept them, and we refreshed it, or revise them. If y'all don't mind, I'll just pick up and mention the couple that we have discussed and wanted to suggest something be done about it. If you look on page 2, under conduct of meetings, in that first paragraph, A, it says any rule of parliamentary procedure may be suspended by a concurring vote of 5 of, it says currently 4 of the 5 members. But last year, our commission was changed to 7 members by the council. So it's a 7-member council. That should be changed a vote of 5 out of 7, because this particular rule they're talking about requires a 2-thirds vote, not a 51% majority. So 5 would be that for 7 members. So that's one of the suggestions you do. And let's see, on page, what I've listed at the bottom is page 6, which is Roman numeral 5. These. I'm talking about the category of approval of minutes. It's under that, but item number D says videotape recordings of the member plans shall be retained by the office of the town manager for a period of 5 years. I asked a question about that. That was a document somewhere that said for records and videotape retention, that was a law. Just for curiosity, because I don't know that we necessarily went that verification in the past. And what was suggested to me by staff was to make it in accordance with the Library of Virginia, because that's what you're supposed to go by for records retention. And I think it is 5 years, but do you know if that's the case?
I don't know off the top of my head.
Okay, well, get that verified, but if you put it in there, then you got to keep up with it all the time and change it. So
I
think it should go, I'm sorry.
that the word guidelines in accordance with the library guidelines.
okay. All right. In accordance with the Library of Virginia retention guidelines.
Okay.
Okay, we'll move on to the next page at the bottom. Roman numeral 8, election and appointments. At the annual organizational meeting of the MPC, usually held in January of each year, the clerk, saying the town manager to the Mineral Planning Commission shall open and preside over the beginning of it. Again, it's not supposed to be council doing it, or it's a 1-year thing, all of the elections. So if the clerk is here and the town manager would then do it, the town manager wasn't here, but the flexibility, either one may be able to open the meeting and get us through that first step into the organizational meeting. Hear any objection to that? Okay. Let's see. Don't necessarily have anything else, but I will bring up for discussion, I guess, on the next last page, page 8. Under elections and appointments, item number C, it tells you nominations shall be closed by the clerk, and it's what we did here tonight. The first nominee for a given office to receive the affirmative vote of the members present voting shall be deemed to have been elected. That's true. Abstention cannot count it. That's true. I think that it would be added a statement that says no member may pass and called upon by the mayor to vote and then vote later. That is the way that I've always known it in the organizations that I've been in. And I think that's according to Robert's
Would
rules.
be in C.
But I think that we should have a statement of that if we want, if you agree that that's an appropriate thing or not, because if it's a questionable thing in doing that. I don't think that a person should be able to, when you have a roll call and it comes time that you're asked to vote, that you should be able to say, not right now, come back to me later, and then you get to wait until everybody else is voting. And that's why I say that we should add that in there as reflective of that matter, so it doesn't come up. And I also got to point out to you, after we've said and done this, we don't have authority, I don't think, without ultimately sending it to the town council for them to approve these. I'm not sure of that, but I know they reviewed our bylaws the first time. So after we approve whatever we do, I think we still send it to the town council for their review acceptance. But I do strongly suggest that that's just something to avoid that situation that you're supposed to randomly go around, start one way, start another way. However the clerk wants to do it, it's supposed to be rotated, not always calling the same person first or the same person. So therefore, it's fair that when you call on, you have to vote. So if I have a question, I don't know.
So to clarify, you're saying that as the roll call is called, as each person is called with their name, they're required to vote at that time. They're not allowed to sometime.
Not allowed to, you can abstain.
Abstain,
If you're
but-
not sure how you need more time, you gotta vote one way or the other, or then abstain, and then you don't get to vote. But here, most of our votes are voice votes, so everybody's voting at the same time. Right now, the nominations are the only things that we call roll call on just to save time. However, any of you could at any time say that you want it to be a roll call, then we go to a roll call. And if that be the case, then you go to a roll call, everybody votes when their time comes, whoever, in whatever order. So nobody ever knows if you're gonna be called first, second, last, whatever.
But according to what you were saying, there is a period of where we discuss it, whether you're for it or against it, before you come to the point.
Right.
Yeah.
Sure, we have to make a motion to vote on it anyway, so
Yeah.
just don't approve the motion if you need more time, right?
Exactly.
I think that's perfectly fair.
Okay, well, that's all that I had as input on it.
Could you tell me the wording you wanted for that?
Okay. This,
Okay.
in a roll call vote, each member will be called on to vote or abstain.
You can say vote yes, no, or abstain, vote in favor of.
Yes, no, or abstain. And once called, that vote is recorded.
Okay. We're going to have to restart this because I was not prepared to write in a roll call vote.
Yeah, the roll call vote is always, is there. I mean,
Mhm.
you have to record those.
Yeah,
You're just looking for the correct language.
I was looking for the language.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, it's not everybody saying, yeah, it's the individual, the vote.
Call to vote or abstain. And we need to say in effect, once recorded.
Hmm?
And we just need to say that, that doesn't limit, this wording does not say you can't go back and change. So we need to then
Well,
add
that's
to the,
already in here elsewhere, that's
Yeah.
in here
Yeah,
that you
that's
can't change.
good. Yeah.
no, but that's what you just brought up.
No, I said you can't
During the
have
vote.
the clerk calling the names and say I'm the third person out of seven. And when it comes to me, I say, I'd rather pass, come back to you later.
Like for more time or to see how others are gonna vote to
Yes,
I
okay.
thought that's what we were.
make your own.
All right.
That's what mine
You
said.
like what I said?
Yes.
I'm not sure.
Do you have it written or do you need? wording?
Okay.
Okay, I was gonna say I have wording.
Somebody, if I'm remembering correctly, okay.
In a roll call vote,
Here,
each.
if somebody had an objection to it, we take
Or
it
abstain.
until the next time. We didn't actually vote on it because somebody did, have issues with it. But it was in the record that it'll be tabled until so-and-so date.
To discuss something, you gotta have a motion and a second.
Exactly.
But once you've got the motion second, if there is an objection, someone can call for asking it to be tabled.
Yes,
And then you vote on that, then it might
Yes.
get tabled.
yes.
So there's ways to do that.
That's back here in this other period.
So
Do you want her to put in there that if more time is needed? Like, do you want that wording about if more time's needed to not approve a motion?
No, because the motions may break down if they needed more time and we had to table it. But then it would be recorded that it's tabled until so-and-so date.
my wording is this, you can see whatever the two are. No member may pass when called upon by the I said mayor, I don't want to say it, when called upon by the clerk, because the clerk would be doing a roll call. I'm not going to do a roll call. When called upon by the clerk to vote. No member may pass when called upon by the clerk to vote and then vote later. That's what I'm trying to get at.
Say that again, please.
No member, planning commission member, no member may pass when called upon by the clerk to vote and then vote later. They can pass if they want to,
Okay, yeah.
they want to abstain,
Yes.
but they can't pass and just say later.
Yes, at that point, when we're taking the vote.
Right.
Yes.
Jim, is that all right?
Looking at us like.
I'm looking.
He's not sure.
I have 3 versions of the same lines.
We're talking about
Yeah.
when we all vote.
Yeah, I know.
She knows
No, I know that. I have
The word.
It's the wording.
The wording.
Yeah, the wording.
Okay.
I had written in a roll call vote, each commissioner is required to either vote or abstain when called upon.
Exactly.
I like
You
that.
got,
And then I added,
That's the part.
It's what you have to do.
Yeah.
when I have
You
added,
can't do.
and I have added, what Mr. Snyder had, will, and such votes shall be recorded.
yeah, the vote is recorded at that.
It's gonna be recorded.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but, okay, so we're going
I
with
like what-
Lauren's version.
You want it back?
That's
No, I got it.
wordy. It's less wordy.
Oh, wow. Around that one.
I'm rarely in my life accused of not being wordy, but I'll take it.
That was not wordy, that was perfect.
So are we in agreement with what Lauren
Yes,
Yes.
suggested?
yes,
I think that will.
we were really confusing her.
All right, so all that being said, is there anything else we haven't discussed in this that we need to? If not, I entertain a motion from someone to adopt these revisions as discussed.
I make a motion to adopt the revisions as discussed.
So let me get a second. Back to you, Jim. Go ahead.
Well, let's do
When would we ever go into, I'm sorry, I thought you said come back to me.
I will come back to you.
No, I'll second that.
All
I'll
right, so
second
we got a motion to second to accept what we've talked about. Yes, Jim?
When would we ever go into closed session?
I don't know, but if it talks about something that's legal and you want an attorney to be advising you, that's what
Okay,
you would for
all
sure.
right.
Or
If you're talking
not
money,
allowed, yeah.
you talk about somebody's salary for some reason.
We don't have that kind of power.
Ever.
And I don't
It's
recall
released in
ever-
closed session.
I don't know if you've been on the planning commission much longer than me, did y'all?
What do you mean no?
Okay, I got a motion, I got a second. You want to call well, all in favor of the items that we brought up here and discussed for to our existing bylaws, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, that motion passes 6-0. Thank you very much. All right, sorry to take so long with that, but I think it's a
That's
worthwhile
okay.
effort. And where are we now?
If council reviews these, do we need to make a motion to,
Say again.
if council does review these, do we need to make a motion to send it to council?
Oh,
What was your question?
now she's asking, do we need a motion to send it to I don't think we need a motion on that. I think
Okay,
we've taken action on it and you all can inquire whether they want to review it or legally is it required.
okay.
Done the bylaw, and the next thing is meeting schedule discussion, and we've already taken care of that. So then we're getting to introduce our new planning commission. Welcome, Brian. Would you like to tell us about yourself and maybe some time about you on the planning commission? You're welcome to.
Most definitely. Thank you all for having me. So I'm Ryan Thaler. I've been a resident of the town of Mineral for just over 4 years now. So I'm sure most of you probably know who I am because of my husband, who is Ron Chapman. I would like to point out and just make a note that before Mr. Chapman assumed the role of acting interim town mayor, I actually already put my request in for the appointment to the planning commission. So just want to make sure that that's a public statement.
Okay.
But I am very excited to see what we can do in this town. I read the comprehensive plan probably 4.5 years ago now when we were originally looking at our house. And I saw the massive amount of potential that Mineral has. And I've only seen great things happen for the most part recently. And it's only upward mobility. We have nowhere else to go but up. So I'm extremely happy to see what we can do to make this town a fantastic place and keep everything moving with renewed efficiency, let's say.
Sounds very good. We welcome your interest and your involvement in working with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Secondly, we have a resignation of a commissioner. So we have a resignation letter from Nikki Dye, who been on the planning commission. And I think that after we discuss it and we have a letter that she submitted, she has moved away because she has moved away and therefore she is has submitted her resignation. You want to read that? Or
I will.
I think it's made a copy.
Ms. Dye says, hello all. Thank you for the opportunity to serve in the Mineral Planning Commission. I have since moved out of town limits and sadly will no longer be able to serve. I wish you all the best in your future endeavors for the town. Nikki Dye.
That is important to the establishment of the planning commission by town council. One of the things is you have the best of the town. Question to me for your business owner, if you give me a planning commission, that's not. You gotta be an eligible town citizen to be a member of the voting. I want to comment on her leaving. I'd like for us to accept her resignation with regrets, but thanking her for her service. And then I would like a motion for this to be sent to the town council, asking that they advertise the available vacancy for an adequate amount of time, and then they move as swiftly as possible there afterwards to appoint someone.
I'll make a motion. Exactly what you said.
I'll second this.
I'll second it.
So we have a motion by Ms. Newton and a second by Mr. Snyder to accept Nikki Dye's resignation from the planning commission with regrets, and that we also include appreciation for her service to the town as having been a planning commissioner. Wish her and her family the very best. And likewise, we would also like to send a notice of this to the town council and ask that they advertise the vacancy by the website and other means available for anyone interested to be able to submit their interest and to be considered if they appoint someone in the proper amount of time they can to fill the vacancy. Any question about that? Does that sound okay? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? That passes 6-0. All right. Adoption and amendment of agenda. Is there anything that anyone needs to add or delete or change related to tonight's agenda? Normally that's earlier, but different because of the organization.
What about, okay, there's down here.
Are we okay?
Okay.
I move we adopt the agenda as written.
Got a motion. Second. Ms. Ball, and second by Ms. Newton, that we approve the agenda as submitted before us tonight. All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? That would seem to be 6-0. All right, so now we come to public comment, and I'm only seeing 2 people in the public.
Much public here.
You all either or are invited to speak to the planning commission and whatever you have that you'd like to talk to us about. And of course, this is something where we have a 3-minute time limit, if at all possible, per person.
My biggest problem is the subject hasn't come up yet. No subject matter hasn't come up yet.
Who is speaking?
Oh, when she gives her.
No. Introduce yourself. I mean, not everybody may know you.
Oh, my name is Bob.
Angel, right?
Angel.
I'm gonna put that in the minute.
Bob's good. Okay. Do you have any more comments that you would like to make? Bob?
Not until she gives her.
You're interested in the matter pertaining to possible street. right?
The public people are gonna help.
Any other? I mean, I'm not cutting you off, you got 3 minutes.
No, that's the only thing I want to talk about.
Okay,
Correct me if I'm wrong, Chairman Kubiak, but public comment is for any statement to be made by the public for anything that could possibly be on the agenda. So it doesn't necessarily matter where we are. Is that correct?
yeah, the only restriction that
Public
would
comment
be
is
is if there was a public hearing to be held, you have to make your comments at the time of the public hearing, because it's pertinent to that. If it's not a public hearing, then there really is no limit, I guess. You can speak to anything that's on the agenda, you can speak to anything else that is going on around town or otherwise that you want to talk to us about. We don't restrict you to only talking about things that are on the agenda or that you can't speak about things that are on the agenda.
Yes, thank you.
Are you done?
No comment right now.
We're open for discussion. He's waiting on you.
Well, that will come up.
But follow the agenda, correct?
Yeah.
Right.
I have nothing to say.
So no public comment then, right?
No public.
No, I take it that that was his comment, that that's what he's here about.
Okay.
That's what he's saying, right? Right.
He wants to maybe have a conversation during not under section L number 1.
Okay. All right. He's addressing, that's what his concern is, and that, he wants to hear what the discussion is gonna be, I guess. Before he comment. And I think that can be certainly provided in the fact that there is no information that was provided in the package to review, to see. Did you want to speak? All right, that being said, then our.
Oh, I'm sorry, yes.
I'm sorry,
The audience.
Ms. Covert, you come in. Did you care to speak?
At the public comment.
What?
Yeah.
At the public comment.
Nah, I'm good. I'm just came to
Well, welcome.
just say hello and to listen a little bit.
All right, then we will close the public comment portion of the meeting and move on to approval of minutes. So which tab is that behind? Y'all?
I,
Must be I.
yep.
Thank you. I'm a little rusty. So there's 12 pages of minutes in this October 17th, which was our last meeting of the planning commission.
Forever.
And then it seems like it was. Anybody have any additions or corrections or items to discuss related to them? Hearing that. So I am going to take that opportunity to do.
I have,
Jim?
one thing that struck me. Any, I'm on page 10.
Tim,
Any development that borders the town limits.
which one of these paragraphs?
It's 3, section number 1. Any development that borders the town limit must have approval and access. Except it's through the town. It's confusing to me. Is this about, I think this is about roads. And connecting with the town's roads.
I will go back and say that a lot of this bold print here, I believe, is the comments that we had from the town manager that we could discuss at the meeting wasn't able to do that. Correct.
Her written comments, yeah.
And I see Barry commented on that, so I'm happy.
That was all right as far as.
I would just,
Okay. Nicole, is that correct? Washington.
Yeah, so you're confused about that? I can
it
explain.
felt like an overreach, saying somebody put a 15 houses outside the town limits that needed our approval.
So any development, yep, I can see where it says to access the town. So if there is a development, i.e. First Street,
Mhm.
and they want to access the town and their county parcel, they would have to get approval through the town to use it as an annexing through the town.
That's the part I understand and it's just that one
I
line
can-
kind of leads me to believe that,
Nope, I'm glad I could explain it. That's what it's just regarding when there's a development that's right up against the town and we're going to be using roads or accesses from there through town, that approval needs to happen for that developer to be able to access and annex using the town.
Maybe it would be clearer if the second sentence in that, instead of beginning by saying we will need to work with the county, it would be the town need to work with the county, or town staff will.
Well, I think it was just her written comment because she
Yeah,
wasn't
it's just
present
her-
for the meeting.
Yeah.
So it's not, it's
Thank you.
not like a quote from the,
improve my ability to.
I mean, I think
It
the
could've
comment
been
as written
writing.
needed discussion because
Yeah.
I had questions about it too, but now she's here and can explain it, so.
Okay,
It's,
further,
thanks.
let's see. Let's go back to page, say 9. About 2/3 way down, Commissioner Newman asked if the NPC has concluded looking at regulations and statutes. Chairman Cubey advised that there are still plenty, so.
No. That there.
I think, so it would read Chairman Cubey advised that there is still plenty of MPC queue, but only up to three each meeting, I would say probably, or. Yeah, 3 was, we were looking at different zoning classification groups and covering them. That can be very lengthy discussion. So the idea was, no more than 3 because we don't want to take all night and reviewing these things. So I don't know if 3 has to specifically be the number. It might be more or it might be less, but can we say, but generally up to 3 each meeting.
Can I add, so, because I feel like this is just what you had said at that time, and that is what you said at the time. And we want to,
Well, you're not putting quote marks on here.
well, you didn't say.
Minutes.
I don't know what I said.
It's just
I
minutes.
know what.
Yeah,
But it's just notes from the meeting. We're
Yeah,
just proving is
yeah.
that what happened at the meeting. So somebody
Yeah,
who's
so-
there would just need to make a motion.
Well, I guess that's
So-
only up to 3. So that might be 1 or 2. And I doubt seriously we want to be doing more. Legally, it's like that. Have to go on that page. I'm not sure on page 10, the second paragraph, the second sentence where it says commissioners discuss how the town cannot just fix the zoning.
I don't know either. I'd have to go back and watch it.
Second sentence, commissioners discuss how the town cannot just fix the zoning.
A good paragraph.
Yeah, I think.
When the NPC spoke. About the town may be more just.
I don't even know. October's been so long, I don't know what it would be.
I would just say
Got the video.
Work for me.
that may raise questions. Certainly the town's got to deal with zoning and people don't like it or if we want to make changes. I don't know if we want to put that, the town discuss how the town cannot just fix the zoning. I hope that,
Yeah.
we can
Just-
if there are problems. So can we just scratch that,
Mhm.
delete that? Because again, they're not verbatim, minutes are not meant to be. in the next last paragraph of that opening one before you get to 3, it says Chairman Cubey reminds the commission that with the zoning regulations, there are not concerns about side yards. I don't really remember saying that we don't have any concerns about side yards in a general. I mean,
Well, there was some discussion about, the existing ones. Is what it was, and there were some people that were concerned about those side yards. How do you, when you've got commercial, what do you do with that side yard? It's something to that effect is what we were talking about.
yeah, it may have
I
been
thought that was at the
it may have been
November
that it
meeting.
wasn't.
We didn't have that discussion.
About side yards in that particular one that we were discussing. Yes.
Well, what we could do, since these are just comments, maybe, change the verbiage on the title before number 1. The comments. This is not something that we voted on or anything, but something to the effect that we were just talking about.
I mean, it says it's discussion.
Yeah.
A and B.
Yep. There you go.
Say the town manager submitted written comments, discussion of preliminary plans.
Right.
Yep.
Maybe just make sure that these are just discussions.
But that's what it says. So
Yeah, if there was a
on
vote.
page 9.
I was just gonna say something.
Right. So on page 9, I just would like to point out that number 2 says overlay district development for Mineral Avenue, A, discussion of Louise Avenue, B, discussion of First Street overlay partial. Those notes under that are talking about those discussions.
So it's just a record of the discussion that happened.
Public is. Okay,
Yeah, yeah, I get it.
Okay.
I know, trust me.
Trust me.
But I
And
mean,
if there was
it's
a
just
vote, it would have been
minutes, notes,
recorded.
and it's just minutes. She can't remove, so for minutes, if it's on the video, she tries to take everything and put in from the video what's in the notes
Exactly.
instead of changing words, because that's not what was said. And we want to make sure that she doesn't do that, because as a secretary, then she'll get called out on that as well. So
Exactly.
Yeah.
I get that.
I know.
So it really is what it is. This is what it's been said, and it's really no need to even go through.
But she rewatches the video she watches the video to go back and take notes.
Yep. So there's really.
So I think
The general public, the general public is going to go through something out of our discussions. We're trying to protect the town in our discussions, and yet they think it's, it's in, this is what you said. I think
well, we don't protect the town by changing the minutes. We protect the town by
Discussing.
our discussions being guarded and being wise, right?
Yes.
And this
That
is
too.
all in video. I mean,
Yes.
This is just.
There is
All in the video.
transparency because we do have it on video.
But we still like that telephone.
And I will admit to having not read this until it was too late to make comments back to you. And really, if you get a chance to review minutes, if you have a question, the idea probably is best to contact the clerk and try to determine if the wording is in any way in need of a proper change that can be done.
Well, I don't think the comments need to be changed at all. I'm in agreement with everything that's being said. I think that, we just need to put something in the title, number 2, and, make sure that they understand.
That's
Will it
okay.
work? I don't know.
And so I think, just to say, we don't need to belabor this. It's actually all written, and there is titles number 2. I mean, that's the
Yeah.
discussion as Ms. Washington has mentioned. I mean, it's all here in black and white.
It is.
Nothing to even say about it.
I understand what you're saying, though. I get it. I know what's
just-
happening.
That so much in the past.
It is only commenting, and yes, the clerk has to listen to the tapes and is recording what she sees, but again, it's not verbatim. And I'll point out one other thing, and then I'll let it rest because I don't want to be trying to change things in any way. But just before the reports on page 11. Okay, Chairman Hughley explains the potential, I guess I need to listen, right? Chairman Hughley explained the potential negatives of annex. And I might have explained some negatives, but I'm not all about annexing being negative, because I certainly fully supported, and I wasn't on council, but I fully supported that annex that took place. And I really personally feel that there's potential for more annexing that might happen in the future. For instance, just throwing out, if the county wanted to allow the town to go towards the cemetery, we as a town have a cemetery that is not in the town, but we own that property and we run that. There's nothing going on in between it. If they needed to get water and sewer down that way and wanted to do a development, the county would probably want to come through the town to do it. Otherwise, they have to build the lines around us. So there's an example where annexation would make a lot of sense in my mind for the town to pursue it and for the county to be interested in it. But that's what I'm saying. I'm not about just pointing out negatives of annexing. There are very positives. But I will tell you, and I know that this was brought up, I said it, that the last time I'm told that the county would go along with annexing as long as it was no objectors. They didn't, the county, and I understand the county didn't want to get into a debate. They didn't have to grant it. They would do it as long as there weren't objectors to it. And that's more than likely, I can't speak for them, that's more than likely why it was just the businesses that were taken in and none of the property owners on the other side. Probably, So anyway, there's a give and take annexation. You don't, in my opinion, want to get into a fight with the county or someone else over annexation, but if it can be done cooperatively and beneficial to everyone involved, it's a good thing. Okay, but do I have a motion to accept the minutes? And was there one change or not? Again,
I think there was there was.
You asked on page 10 to strike the second sentence from the second paragraph.
On page 9, which we did,
Yes.
correct. Okay.
To you.
Entertain a motion to amend the minutes with those two corrections that you talked about.
I move that we accept. Oh, my brain just stopped. That we, excuse me, somebody else did this.
I make a motion to accept the minutes with the,
As amended.
Correct. Exactly.
corrections stated.
Do I hear a second?
A second.
Further discussion? And hearing none. All in favor of approving the minutes as revised, say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion. Okay, because you weren't present, correct?
Thank you.
The motion passes 5-0 to 1, one being the abstention.
Can I just real quick?
Sure.
Ms. Fall was absent that day, so I don't know if she also wants to.
I should abstain.
Sorry, I don't want to change votes here. I just want to,
Well.
I just want to ask, clarify.
I'll be an abstention. Thank you.
Yeah, it is typical to abstain if you weren't present for the meeting. But not meaning that you can't discuss and be a part of the decision discussion. All right, so we have taken care of the minutes. Old business, unlisted, new business. Planning commission meetings, that is certainly taken care of already. Discussion of overlay district plan. Washington, can you bring us up to speed on that?
So we are working with the Town Construction Planning Group and to discuss the overlay district. They're available in February. We have not done a lot of research or discussion or planning, but they have done and have, I think, some ideas and will possibly bring what they can do. And I'm sure it's going to have a quote with it of what it's going to cost, but.
So Ms. Washington and I had a discussion with one of the planners of the Thomas Jefferson Planning District, who had come here and been involved a great deal in the comprehensive plan development last year. And she had indicated, of course, just following up that discussion, that that they were very interested in doing it, but they hadn't had time. They had a number of turnover of staff and everything. My understanding that they have replaced those staff members and they're in a better situation. So they would like to pick up within the next couple of weeks, get back in touch with us, have a discussion, and then come up with the proposal. We were looking to get a proposal of how to do it and to know how long they think it would take and how much it would cost, because we can't do it unless it goes to council and council approves it.
Right.
So maybe next month.
Yeah.
Okay,
Sounds good.
thank you. Discussion of creation of capital improvements plan. Again, I had put that on the agenda because the comprehensive plan is supposed to be created, and state of Virginia that is set up to be done with the planning commission reviewing it each year and making recommendations, passing along to the town council, and then their action, part of their budget process. That's how I understand it. What would you like to do to help this get started?
So the next meeting, I'll have just some ideas of the projects listed out that'll go into the budget process for approval if needed, but it will be on. I want to create a list of projects. Some of the things that we have right now are obviously our water infrastructure is number one, asset management tool for the water infrastructure. I want to get a really good guideline for our asset management, not only being our water infrastructure, but buildings. So Whitlock Family Park has a building there. We want to revitalize that building. I want to put that on the agenda. In the budget for this. The idea is to, give it a roof, look at it with an architect, do some stabilization for the building, possibly if anyone has been to the Old Dairy Market in Charlottesville, they've created a nice open space inside where different businesses can, prepare food or drinks or what have you. And then they have like a common area where people can sit, and they have outside. So it's not as big, but it is space, and, maybe possibly create a, off the side of it, kind of like a deck. So of some sort. That also is helpful for the farmer's market on Saturday, because they can, if it rains, maybe they can, do things. Who knows? It's just their ideas, but it will help the town, and it'll bring more business to the town. So I want to get these things on our improvements plan, and I want to do more of like a long range planning process for us to incorporate that. The town did put an offer in on some property, the old schoolhouse property at the end of the park. That is scheduled to be closed in February. So we'll own that piece of property if everything goes okay. And that's our open space. So we're checking off boxes for our comprehensive plan. Some of the other things that I want to do more events, those aren't really capital improvements, but it's just to continue moving the ball along to bring more people or more businesses or what have you into our town. So 3 major ones are the building at the park, the water infrastructure asset management plan, and the park itself, and coming up with a plan for that.
You're open for suggestions on all of those?
Yeah.
Steps.
Steps?
Yeah. The major entrance to the park is at the crossroad, at the crosswalk.
Oh,
And people are just walking down Grass Hill.
okay.
With kind of holes in it and whatnot.
All right. So I'll make a note of that.
And talk with Hank, because he'll have to mow around it, so you
Yeah.
try to make that.
That'll be fine.
And signage, I mean, maybe better signage for that right there, so they
Yeah.
stop and they see. A lot of people want to be there. I go a little slower on Saturdays, but, being a living right there.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that come.
Yeah. So we are developing a sign for Whitlock Family Park. We're working with Lake Anna Designs. The idea that I have for the town is to create signs for every place the town kind of owns. We'll create a sign at the cemetery that has some rules and regulations. We'll create a sign at Whitlock Family Park on both ends. We'll create a sign for Love Park, even though it has its own love sign, but ball field. And I don't know what we can do as far as traffic goes, but I can get VDOT out to do a study or something of that aspect to see what we can do to minimize that. There are signs up that say, tell them to slow down, or I don't know how to address that. We're having that issue in the town itself.
Yeah.
On Mineral Avenue. So these are things that VDOT controls, and the county, we have to kind of, work with the county. I had heard, and I need to research it more, but that there is, I don't know if there's a law or something that's going on with if it's 35 miles an hour and you want to lower it to 25, you can get approval through the locality. I don't know that for sure, but there was some talk about that. So I want to research that so that we can do that. And if that's the case, then it may be that we can do that both there and on Main Street.
Yeah, people cross constant. I mean, it's not just in the crosswalk. I mean, the church, they cross right there in that bad curve. They cross right there in front of the house. And I mean, they cross wherever they get out of the car. And, I've heard a lot of breaks.
I bet.
Yeah.
But I live right there in that curve, so, it's a dangerous point. Especially on Saturdays and when the ball games are there.
Yeah.
And there's no slowdown before you get to 35. It's 55, 35.
Well, it gives you what, 50 feet, 100 feet, then you drop down.
I thought there was, there
Pretty
isn't a
short.
45 to
But
50.
people are, they're used to it. I mean, even the tractor trailer trucks, they fly through there. I mean, sometimes it just, I mean, I cringe thinking they're gonna come through and knock off the rest of the porch or whatever. I mean, it's really bad right there.
I'll talk to VDOT because, so I had VDOT out for here. There's a stop sign. I don't know. They call it like railroad something. I don't know. It's back here where the parking lot is. And then you go behind to get to the store and then out. Railroad Avenue. Okay. So you can turn off of Mineral Avenue, 2nd Street East. And then you can go around the curve behind the buildings where like Mineral Mercantile. Well, if you're coming from the other direction, there's no stop sign. You can really go straight or you can turn right. Well, there was an accident. And so they went straight and this car's coming and it hits the car because there's no stop sign. So they're going to put a stop sign. They came out, we looked at the property, walked it. Yep. We walked the property and they're going to put a stop sign on the corner and do that. So I'll talk to them about that area and see what we can do. They may have us do a traffic study. So we'd have to get with
You probably should, if you don't have a stop sign coming out of the town lot where y'all park back here.
Oh, we do.
Or
Yep.
right there in that area where that curve is.
Yep, that's the only stop sign that's there, is the one that if you're coming out of this lot to go.
So the history on the traffic coming down there curve, when I started coming to the meetings, there have been traffic studies, there have been radars put up. It's been a long fuss about that.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Because there's
If you,
nothing-
they're really good at the other end of town in our curve. The sheriff's department sits out there and runs radar all the time. So if you look up enough. We're at the other end of town, going out of town towards Cuckoo.
Oh, yeah.
So in that
I'm
curve,
not very happy either.
right, that's a curve, it's a slowdown and people come, we hear a lot of breaks there as well. But they do sit and, I mean, they write tickets there. We see them pulling people over pretty frequently there. So they're
Rare to see an
Yeah.
officer on the.
on the other end of town.
Yeah.
We have had a larger presence on Mineral Avenue going that direction and coming in. I haven't voiced any concern about coming opposite direction from 5.2 in. So I can talk to them about that and see what we can do.
Like
But
things they fly from the light out
yeah,
other direction towards the schools. Yeah, I certainly hear that. We have diverged into traffic situations, there's the capital. improvement.
yeah.
Good discussion, important, it's a public safety thing. So that is a good thing for us to be aware of, bring attention and highlight it. Along those lines, crosswalks are really needed that the town has never been able to get. But that's something that ought to be talked with the housing department. That being said, so we're gonna start working on a capital improvements plan, and that's gonna be 5 years, can be longer, some places have 10, 20, or 40-year plans. But you're spreading your money out so that you make plans to put a little bit here now, and maybe a little bit later, to make it go as far as it can. And we'll hope to get something back from you, so for you to share, discuss, and make recommendations.
Yes, it's been a 2-meeting week.
Yeah, I understand. All right, I think that's good cover on the capital improvements, discussion, reports, zoning administrator.
Yeah. So before we dive into this street discussion, an update on Miller's Market. So there's no update. So they were doing a traffic analysis. I believe there were people out there. They had the cameras on our electric pole. They were surveying the parking lot. This is a requirement VDOT has asked for. So I'm just waiting patiently to hear back from VDOT to see where we are with all of that, to make sure that we have a good engineered plan for their gas tanks and gas pumps if that's the direction it goes in. I can't sign off on it until I have a letter of recommendation from VDOT, and that everything is, stable and clear. We did get an application submitted for the PUD again. I have sent out a letter the other day to the applicant, and we'll just wait to hear back. So, our water system, the capacity is not where it needs to be for water for the town to be able to supply the water. There would have to be some major upgrades to our system for 350 homes, as well as for sewer. So, and there's a pumping station. So in the letter, I just discussed these things with the applicant. So I sent it, it's out there. We'll wait to hear back from him. The attorney that we have, Mr. Sproul, he is the town council, and I'm working with him on all of my tricky zoning situations. And he's helped really review that. I was really waiting to have him on staff or on, as our council, so that we would have an authority to be able to work with legally to ensure that I don't want to say something and then it come back to the town and it wasn't correct. So I will say that the narrative that was approved in 2007 was approved as a resolution. This, even though things are expired, because it was approved as a resolution, it stands. So we're working off this narrative.
It should have been approved if it,
It should not be approved as a resolution.
how should.
A resolution stays, and that's what you're stuck with. So the resolution approved the narrative as the PUD district for the PUD. So the PUD district that we updated and sent to council and was approved, because that was done in 2007, that resolution approved that narrative as that PUD district at that time. So
Does that mean that?
that means that that's the district that we have to use for the
town
PUD.
is Stuck with whatever was done then?
Basically, we have things that we'll discuss and talk about when we get to a place where it comes to be presented to Planning Commission, and you'll have time to review it, work it over, and all that stuff. But you'll be able to see options and review.
So it would be public hearings held or.
If everything is done appropriately, there will be public hearings. But we're not ready for any of that at this time.
What's the timeline on?
Yeah, on the application.
Depends on when I get the next one in. So this was, right now, the way it is, I cannot approve that application the way it's submitted for these specific reasons in the letter. So I'm waiting to hear back. I need a site plan. I need a water development plan. I need to know how, if this development wants to happen, how the water is going to be taken care of and the sewer, and how that is looking. And then I would have to get Louisa County Water Authority involved, all of the county involved, because they have to sign off on it as well. It affects landfill, it affects schools, it affects public safety, it affects everybody. It's large, it's huge. So they would all have to look at it and give their recommendations or their concerns. And then it will come to you guys once we have all that. So we're looking at a few months.
It's clearly not just a by right.
No, it needs to be a site plan, yeah, because we do go by the county's ordinance.
And so all the things that you mentioned has been put in like a documentation that they need to actually
A letter.
address all of those things. That's excellent. Yeah. And then after they come back, then you'll be able to know what the timeline will be, because then they'll address all those things.
Is it predominantly residential?
Yes, predominantly residential. The narrative was written, and I can supply anybody with that. The narrative was written to have only 1-story houses and patio houses, so not 2-story, not townhomes. That's what it was written to be. Again, there's options, you
All
guys.
single family homes, no
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 multi.
apartments or multifamily.
Nope, they're multifamily homes, but
Yeah.
there are multifamily homes, yeah. And there's in the narrative, and when we get to the point where this will be presented to you guys, we'll discuss what that means. Like, if they're multifamily homes, are there conditions that attach to them? So we can look at all of that.
Anything that we can do to prepare ourselves to help the cause because a few months is actually, that's not far away.
Well, it's whenever I get something back. So right now,
The narrative might be something that we really should be reviewing. That would prepare us to kind of even get our minds around it and see what we're talking about.
Exactly. All right, well, thank you for updating us and keeping us aware of what is transpiring. Again, if this moves forward, it would come before the planning commission and then public hearing to be held and then go to the council for their decision making.
yeah, So also just to let you guys know, there's lots of development happening in the town, if you haven't noticed. We have, there's a constant challenge with the water and getting the water, installed correctly. With the developments quickly approaching, we're having to just kind of develop it and not really replace the water line or that we want to, which is not good. But we being the contractor and I are working, and the utility committee are working to figure out the best way to get the lines that need to be replaced in a timely manner. We addressed all of the water leaks over the summer. So we went from a 50% loss in water to a 12% loss in water. And according to Virginia Rural Water, that is like amazing. So, that was done with a push to our maintenance staff and our contractor just to get that done.
So with you seeing that, is there a way that's really great news, right? And just to have the public know that, celebrate that and let them know, you guys are working hard, and that's commendable what's been done.
Yeah, we discussed it at our council meeting and put it in the packet and made sure to put it out there. So that's what we
need to
do. We need it, right.
A sticker on it.
Yeah, right, a sticker. But just to give you guys an idea, so that was our major push over the summer. With the developments coming in, a push is to, when we see a line that's old or needs repairing or replacing, we're trying to address that right away. To help those building the houses, and, or the ones that are having trouble with their water, to be able to help them. So we're working on that as well. There's just a lot of development and it's happening really fast. So I have gotten some questions about, closing alleys, discussing alleys in general. I haven't really touched on that a lot. I know there's a moratorium. I think council really needs to kind of decide if they want to just, lift the moratorium and let people just apply if they want to close an alley. The process that I'm going to put in place is that any alley closures or road closures that come up is to really go out and investigate what's on the alley, where does the alley lead to, alley and road. Is the alley used for, and does it have public utility on it? Like the alley behind my house, we can't close because there's a public utility that's used. So we'd have to leave that the way it is. A road, where does the road go? What happens with the road? Is the road safe? Is it not safe? Where is it located? So these are all the things that need to be addressed. If someone in town does want to apply for that, I feel like there needs to be a checkbox of things for me to look at. Because I don't think it's just, can I do it? And we just say yes or no. I think we need to look at like the calls in the case. So we will be doing that going forward. That's all I had for that. Any questions on those topics? Okay. Now to the bigger topic. I handed out a sheet with a summary regarding block 136, lot 68, and I forgot to put a title. That's my fault. It's more about this road, 8th Street. That's an undeveloped road. Can I use this? Mm-hmm. That's an undeveloped road. Did we close on? No, that's fine. I'll pull it up again. So 8th Street, you have a GIS page. So I'm just going to scroll up here for the big screen. in my efforts to try to help citizens as well as what's good for the town. There was discussion about closing the road. Can I apply for road closure? I don't necessarily like closing roads that really don't need to be closed. They're access points for a town to be able to access into its county or locality. There also can be used to grant things, and that has to be done with approval. It's possible that the town could get something out of if someone developed on the other side of the town line and they wanted to use that as an access easement for utility. So I don't necessarily think we should close it all together and abandon it. That's just, I think we're losing out when we do that, especially when it's up against property that possibly in 10 years could be developed. That being said, I do, however, think that there should be something with when there are roads that go nowhere. Okay, this road on 8th Street, this undeveloped road, if you look up at the screen, you'll see 8th Street. The white line shows development. And then the big, larger areas that do not have the white line are undeveloped portions of the road. Okay. If you follow 8th Street to the town, so we're going to move to the right of the screen. It goes nowhere. It turns. It comes down one little block and it turns. This area that I'm pointing at right here is closed. This road for 8th Street right here is abandoned and closed already. So there's nowhere to go.
Right.
Portion is closed and nowhere to go.
This part, let me see if I can draw it.
It's behind my house.
Between St. Francis and Forest Avenue.
Right here,
That would be the part that
right there.
That's already.
that this Jim, what is her name? Mrs. Snyder, but not spelled the same as your last name.
These,
Closed a year or two ago.
so they asked to close it because apparently the topography was bad and what have you. So I just want to state for calls, roads can be developed. It would just take some effort to develop them. You may have to bring in dirt, you may have to bring in gravel, you may have to bring in stuff, you may have to compact it. There's a compact test. They can be developed. Okay, unless it's like a cliff and you're like, okay, that can't be done. So I'm not a fan of that, but it was done. It now causes 8th Street to have a large turn. So it doesn't go out to Mineral Avenue. So if you keep going out, there's St. Francis, and then it will eventually.
It takes 7. Yeah, it picks back up again.
Yeah, it picks back up again, but it's abandoned and then abandoned, and then it keeps going and it's Mineral Avenue. It goes nowhere on the other side. So on this west side, you can't get to Mineral Avenue, your main street, from there. So to me, if land on the left, which is the county, ever got developed, this road would have traffic coming and skirting around a corner through what we call a neighborhood.
Right.
Who knows if kids are there? Who knows what's going on? We don't know. They know that this is abandoned. This road right here is abandoned going down, and this portion is abandoned. So kids probably play out here, ride bikes.
I know them all.
There you go. So to me, it makes no sense to do anything with this road over here with the undeveloped portion of 8th Street. Okay. However, it allows the town to have access into the county have access into the town for easement access, right? Public utility, Comcast, power lines, water, however we want to use it. So we have an applicant that's a landowner. They bought this portion of land, these blocks, block 136, lot 6 through 8. Okay. it's landlocked. And so the idea for me as a zoning administrator, and was this way in Orange, is to help people have access to land when it's landlocked. And there are good reasons behind, trying to get access to it. It's not just, one reason. I don't think abandoning the road is correct. I think we need to leave that so the town can use that at some point. With that being said, if it doesn't ever get developed, which again, it shouldn't, I think that we should be able to grant an easement so that the land isn't landlocked. An easement would be an easement down the middle of the undeveloped road into the first corner or area as a driveway,
Right.
so that this person could access their property. I think that we don't want to, my opinion is, as a zoning administrator, I don't want to ever push to not allow people to develop on their land. I want to give access, but I also want to do it in the best way for the town. And this is a win for both applicant and the town. We're not abandoning a road. We're not getting rid of anything. The town's not losing that access. It's merely granting an easement to allow access to property. The land that's the two property owners up here, they have access. They have Chestnut Avenue. They can get to their driveways right here. This landowner.
Yeah, Chestnut comes all the way back down to 8.
Yeah,
It's gravel though, isn't it?
it's gravel and we're
Yeah.
looking into that too.
So, don't mean to interrupt.
No, you're fine.
So we're actually talking about a specific example, but what we advertised is possible street closures as a generality. And we began by just talking in generality, but now you're talking about a specific. So are you saying?
It was supposed to be a specific closure on 8th Street. That's what the topic was supposed to be. It was definitely for this particular
Has this ever been done before?
in the town?
Yeah.
Oh, I have no idea.
So
I've been here since April.
7th Street.
Oh, it has been.
So
Go ahead.
7th Street, which is now developed,
Mm-hmm.
actually was just below where I live, was a driveway down to the house down, I can't
The
remember.
Nemix down there at Forest.
No,
on 7th?
Nemix, before those houses were built, 7th Street basically ended at the corner of my property, and it was a driveway.
At St. Francis.
And that
Is that where you
was
were?
rural addition monies from VDOT.
And then when Loudon put in those houses, he
Yeah.
had to develop that
The
road.
roads back.
That's right.
Okay.
But for the longest time, it was just a driveway.
Right.
And so,
And there's multiple driveways, right? So there's another driveway off of, I don't know the street because I didn't write it down. But when you go back into this area needs some attention. But when you go back here,
Park Avenue is the one you're thinking.
There's a
between
driveway.
9th and 7th, because 8th doesn't run through there. So Park Avenue ends at
a driveway,
9th Street, but it's a driveway, correct?
right? It's a
It's
driveway.
essentially the same thing. I don't know that they've been granted an easement.
They have
That's
not been
certainly how it's
granted an
been
easement, yes. They have not been granted an easement and they use it as their driveway. I am, as the zoning administrator / planner / working with planning commission and the town and looking at the map, want to make the grid of the town efficient. So my efficiency comes in at 7th Street. 7th Street goes all the way to Mineral, done. You straight access. 9th Street goes to Kennan Road, which leads right to Pendleton, which leads you right on out going towards Cuckoo, and you can go on about your business.
Or you can
64.
go to 33.
Or you can
Pennant
go to
Road, you go the
33,
other way to
yes.
Pennant Road. Yeah, 7th and 9th are the obvious choices for.
If we were talking about
Development.
a specific example on a specific road, wouldn't that have been normal to put that in the package so it could have been reviewed beforehand so that everyone knew? And were the adjoining property owners notified by the town of action pertaining to a road?
There's no action tonight. This is discussion.
I'm saying, but for discussion purposes, I would think I've only known, I've lived here almost 25 years. We got our property in 2000, we moved in 2003. I've always known we either close or open streets that are on the town's master map that was done in 1892 or whatever it was. But if they did it, my understanding was the town was not going to pay for improvements of roads or do anything. It was going to be done by those that owned it or a developer that was going to do it because of limited funds.
Right.
And so people came to the town, and I don't even know this ever comes to the planning commission. I think it's always been just the council.
Yeah.
I don't think it's been a public hearing before the planning commission, has it? No. So it was the council that reviewed it and they advertised and the people had to pay for that advertisement and the public, anybody and everybody involved got the opportunity to realize what was going to happen because it is town property. And to me, I just feel uneasy about having a discussion on a specific property when the town didn't notify the property owners that were.
Well, one property owner is here and the other property owner, I don't
They
think
asked that they
would come. And there was discussion about this just being for 8th Street. I don't know why it says possible street closures. It was discussion specifically for this. And this is just an easement. I know, this is an easement. This is not a closure. It was to be updated as an
Right.
easement. It's not a closure. And for an easement, you don't have to do certain stuff.
Okay, the town owns that, is that correct?
Mhm.
Then why give the easement? It's already on the town.
The easement is to
Because they're
the owner.
landlocked. They can't access their property unless we allow them
This
to
orange,
utilize the part of 8th Street that doesn't exist.
Understand you own that property and if it's on the books that it is our property. And I don't know whether I'm right or wrong in asking this, but the easement seems like it shouldn't be used at all. I mean, you're gonna have to come in there and give him something. It's not an easement, it's an actual road or street
So,
that we have.
the discussion and what I'm talking about as a zoning administrator and as a planner is this road goes nowhere. So if ever it was developed, you're going to have a huge safety issue down here at the corner because people are just going to go zoop and try to turn. And this is not developed and it doesn't go anywhere. This is never going to be developed. It's been abandoned and it's not going anywhere. So,
But you're, I don't know what that blue line means. Is that the town line?
right here,
Boundary?
No.
There where the easement.
this right here.
Yes.
So on your packet,
That's the line between the county and the town.
that's the county.
But it doesn't matter on this part. I mean.
It does in the future, in 10 years from now, when that landowner decides to develop that land, let's say hypothetically speaking, and they want to come into the town, or the town says, we don't want to do that because that's so much traffic coming off of 33. Like if that's so much traffic, it's going to cause for this little part of this neighborhood. And this is never going to be addressed because it's abandoned. So if traffic comes in here, lots of traffic, we're talking 5-10 cars an hour coming through as we grow, as the county grows. It's the largest county growing. If it's coming through here and then they can't go anywhere but turn, to me, as a planner, I feel like this is just not a through street. It shouldn't be ever.
You're not making them through street. I don't know what's on the other side of that line, that you got your boundary there in blue. Is it a large tract of land?
Yes.
It is.
It's a large tract of land that will have,
Yeah, it's bigger than our town, the traffic.
I don't know, that would be an attorney question. I just can't imagine, you own it and then you're putting an easement in there for him. And there's got to be something else that can be, I'm not sure what the terminology is I'm trying to find here.
I feel like easements are granted with great frequency in real estate, especially in rural areas, right? Because if you purchase a parcel of land that's not on a developed roadway, typically the title company won't let you close until you have been granted an easement to access your
Yes.
land. We're not saying that they own this road. We're saying you may access our undeveloped road.
But
You may utilize our undeveloped road to access your
You're
property.
still gonna have to take care of that easement.
Why would we have to take care of?
Why would we have to take, that's their easement.
That's
You're
for
just
them.
granting them access. They have to take care
They're
of that
not
easement. They're
trespassing
not.
and they are on it. If they would like to lay gravel, if they would like to mow, that's up to them.
Okay, so let me interject if I can. You've asked about the property that's outside of there. It's a big timberland and it's one owner. And that could be developed. That's one of the situations. It's in the county. The county recognizes mixed use and growth area for all the way around the town of Mineral, from what I understand. And I stand corrected if I'm wrong, but I believe that the people that are right there asked for that road and had a public hearing several years ago, and the town voted not to grant that to them. They got their alleyway that they requested, but they did not get that road closed after having a public hearing and having paid for it. So my question would be, again, haven't seen anything until you've shown it tonight. If you grant a right of way to any individual to go through there, and then that property behind there, they want to develop a big subdivision or a big community. If you've already granted a right of way to that individual, how can you be sure that that won't impact being able to develop that land back there, which might be advantageous
That's
to
not-
the
but- right.
town?
But not only
but
that,
Okay.
the utilities.
that's what this would be used for, is utilities. The point I'm saying is, as a planner I'm not a planner by no means. I don't have an ACIP.
Right.
But as a zoning administrator and looking at the town's grid, I personally, if I lived back there, I would not want this road opened at all for any kind of through traffic, because it goes nowhere. It goes to a curve that stops. There are kids that play right here all the time. That is dangerous to this neighborhood. It would be too much traffic. What I'm suggesting is, we're not closing it. You're granting an easement. You're going to leave that the way it is, and you're granting just access easement along with allowing utilities to be developed on this area. That's all.
In
That's
my
it.
view, the planning commission should get a legal opinion on
Yeah, I
that.
think
Because
so.
to me, if you grant
I
a
got
right of way
one.
to an individual
Mhm.
who is landlocked, they don't own out to the road to get out. But anybody can negotiate a right of way with other people. That's what you do all the time. So there's two property.
Has to be on the it has to be on the
Excuse me.
plat.
And if you tell me that you grant this person a right of way there, and then that won't be of any impact to a development that could be built outside of it, that could have businesses or lots of other advantages to help the businesses that are in town, I'd be concerned about that. I think a legal advice on it needs to be done. I don't think you just necessarily.
I did.
don't
I asked
know
our
that
attorney.
Guidelines have been done, but the planning commission hadn't heard it. I'd like to hear from you all, because you all are people, from what I understand, that live right there. You're one of the two adjoining property owners. You asked when you came in here to speak, but you wanted to hear the presentation. But so just like me, you didn't know what they were going to present. Am I correct in saying that you applied for that road to be
4
closed?
years ago.
And
when I moved here.
tell us about that, would you?
We're not.
Yeah, 4 years ago when I had moved here, there was a lady who worked here named Talia. Very nice lady.
To live down in was town manager.
So anyway, I went
And a lot of stuff she did though.
and I talked to her about the property behind my house. Because I never heard of such a thing when I owned both sides and I can't have the alley. She said you had to submit the letter requesting it, paid all your fees and everything. I said, okay, I'd like to have 8th Street at the same time. And I would like to share it with my neighbor. Because that's the way it was on the construction. So both parties had
Right, half of the
access to the
right away.
property.
Right.
And it came back saying The alley was granted, but not the road. They cannot give me the road or sell it to me.
Was that decision made in the meeting, the public hearing?
I had no idea, I didn't attend the meetings.
There was a public hearing.
It was supposedly in a public hearing, but I wasn't there.
Okay, that's unusual.
Cause I mean,
Yeah.
nobody said bull to me.
Nobody said it was necessary.
You know how I do,
So-
I never get notified.
So I'm not asking for the road. We're not, the applicant, this is not I say I, it's not me. I'm just presenting this. There's no request for a road closure. That's the difference here. We're saying just an access easement.
Show me where that's been done before. And
That has been done in so many places and we just did it. I'm not doing it.
show us examples where that's been done. This is a change, and again, you're asking the planning commission to get involved in something
I
it hasn't
just-
done before. If you want to do it, show us, give us time to review it and act upon it. What is the rush?
Return.
If the planning commission doesn't have to be involved, then I'll just do this and take it to the council. I was asking for discussion about it and
We're going in two different conversations and I'm in the middle and it's like.
Where are these, residents, where is their property?
their property is right here.
Parcel 6, 7, and 8.
Corner of Eighth
In the
Street
corner.
and Chestnut Avenue.
Right here.
The road goes.
Can you see, you should have it in your packet as well, Teresa.
So Ms. Washington, just to confirm, the statement that you provided to us this evening is specifically your opinion on the best options for what we should do. This was not a proposal. This was not anything for us to vote on or discuss beyond the basics. So this was just more of an informational for us to address later, probably when the street closures come up again. Is that correct?
Yes.
Thank you.
I mean, we certainly don't want it not even mentioned to us, right? Because that has happened in the past and then we've not been able to give input.
So
on it.
we've got a lot of questions here and, you know.
My questions are completely fair.
Are we saying, Mrs. Washington, that the zoning administrator should have the right to give an easement with their authority only without action by either the planning commission or council?
Nope.
Does it have to come before council, or are you looking to be able to have that authority as zoning administrator?
I am working with the town attorney to determine exactly what action needs to be taken. The citizens in town of Mineral have taken it upon themselves, God love them, to use certain roads as easements on their own. I am trying to do it the right and correct way so that our grid map for the town can be just that, an efficient way of traveling through the town. For if the 400 acres ever got developed, what would be the best option for through traffic to the town to protect people?
Would it be advantageous for you to, give us maybe an outline of what the attorney said? And now I see where, the residents, have their property. Just like we're discussing now, I feel like my brain's going 100 miles an hour with so many questions, and I realize that this is just a discussion, but, I need paper.
No, it's fine. This is just thoughts. I need to know. I'm going to discuss with him. I discussed with him earlier. He sent me an email. I don't necessarily think there has to be a public hearing for an access easement that the town owns land. They can just grant it. And I am doing a due diligence by coming to the planning commission as a planning advocacy to say,
Yes,
here we are.
yes.
Jim, go ahead, Jim.
It's my truth. I see two issues here. Notwithstanding, you're wanting an easement. The street should not be opened up because of the traffic issues. If you weren't asking for the easement, the street still should not be open.
Agree.
Because, well, what I'm saying is. Because this, that street should not be open, never become access through the town because of the traffic problems it would cause. And you're asking for the easement for which properties?
They're not asking for the
You guys,
easement.
I am asking for it. You guys are ignoring, well, he's ignoring me.
No,
But
no,
I'm asking.
Wait.
Well, they had an opportunity to speak. Can I speak?
Yes.
yeah, but I was going to once we got.
Hold on. I didn't have a call on you yet because these people were here before you and they asked in their comments to be able to speak, which we said yes. So I wasn't denying you and I intended to.
I didn't
allow
say you
you
were
to.
denying me.
So, yes, you did. Please go ahead and explain what's happening.
Well, there's only 3 ways that I can access my land. One would be to close the street, one's to open the street, and the other is for the town to give me an easement. And so in order for, we just discussed it and, closing the street is an option. Opening the street, we thought, maybe the danger. But the easement was just, I could use the land and if, somebody builds something over there or they offer proper and, do open the street, then, then my easement goes away because the street's there. But
They wouldn't open the street if.
right, so that's the plan, it's not to open the street, and that's why we were doing this, but, it's unfortunate.
Where do you live?
In
In the same area?
no, I live in, on the east side.
Okay, so you're not talking about the easement that we're talking about.
Yeah, no, this is her
This is
property.
her property. She just doesn't reside at the.
I don't live there yet because it's woods. I can't build a house, and I can't go over there and build a house until I can get there because I can't drive there until I can cut down some trees unless it's opened. But they've built, buildings in the street, and so I'm trying not to ask the street to be open so that they don't have to move their buildings. I'm just trying to, get through there to get to my property.
There's buildings on the
Sheds and
proposed.
whatnot. I'm not trying to be unkind. I'm just trying to neighborly and just, build, just drive a little bit and to get to the back just so I can build.
Okay, so my view is this, if anybody wants to close or open or get an easement and they want it from the town because the town owns it, an application should be submitted and that should be reviewed by whatever body it's going to be. I do not personally think that the zoning administrator should be able to do it on the zoning administrator's own authority. I got to drive now, excuse me.
I don't think the zoning
Hold on.
administrator ever has.
Hold on, I'm still carrying on.
Sure.
Yeah,
And I do not believe that the mayor should be able to just sign off. As just to go further on that, if that ever came up, because sometimes the mayor is also the acting town manager and zoning administrator, because that's happened before. I think transparency is where people are involved, and in this particular case, people are involved. They need to be notified before you grant some right to someone else that they haven't been presented an opportunity to hear, to understand, and have input on it. Because it does impact these people, and it does, in fact, impact the person beyond that line that's outside of the town. All these are impacted. This person has not told us what she intends to do with that property, if she's going to build her own house there, or build 2 or 3 houses there. And all of that should be something that I didn't, excuse me, can't just speak without asking to. I'm saying, I have heard from citizens about this, and they want to know what's going on. And the typical thing that's been done in mineral is to have it openly discussed and presented. You had,
That's what we're doing
you
tonight.
did that.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna say, I don't think I've ever heard of,
There was a public hearing. You paid for the money.
right, we paid to
And
have the
everybody had the
road
opportunity
closed,
to discuss what
exactly.
was happening. You told us what
We're
you
not-
wanted to do. That's what they did some years ago, was to pay to
Right.
have something done. Now they have a request from someone that just bought the property. This is not something the person has owned for years. That's a recent new owner that bought it knowing that and is not telling us, unless we ask and grill, what's it gonna be used for before you.
But that's not-
My assumption is that person will still have to go through.
Yes.
Process.
To clarify, you have purchased the 3 lots behind you guys, is that correct?
Well.
She has
it's-
purchased.
She has purchased those lots and these, because they all go
Okay.
together. And
And lots
there
and
was
lots.
a discussion because the zoning administrator was coming to bring a discussion on how we feel about easements and roads and so on and so forth. We have not done an application. We have not submitted anything. And I think that the application would go straight to the council, but I am trying to do the planning portion of this is to present it and say, here's what we have going on. How do we feel about this? What do we think about it? What's your opinion? Because I think it's important when you have a planning commission come together and they want to plan and develop a town, that it be all of us together. Planning commission is advisory to council. That's what a planning commission is. If I took this straight to the council, then I would hear, we didn't know anything about it. I am doing what I think, and if you don't want me to, that's fine. What I think is a good way into how do we develop all of these things that are happening in the town and get a hold of it before it's too late. Not just make a decision on something.
I have a
Go
question.
ahead.
Easements.
Yeah.
I don't know the letter of the law here. But easements are, it can't be built on. Is that the state?
I'm not a lawyer, but
Virginia?
that's a good question. That's the kind of question I ask.
I am familiar with easements, not here, I apologize for that, but you're not supposed to build anything on these easements that you can't move. You can have a portable building or whatever, so we need to cover our bases on this easement and see what our rights are and see what the homeowner's rights are.
Right. It's an access easement. It's nothing else. Right now, it's an undeveloped street.
Okay.
You can grant an access easement on that.
Well,
And if, I'm sorry,
no, go ahead.
and if she approaches and said she wants to open the street, there would be no question.
Right.
And I'd like to say something because it really is about, respect and positioning it as well, Ms. Washington. I appreciate you bringing this to us because this is being transparent by the way that you're doing this. And this is before anything happens. It's just like trying to just, get our hands around it, talk about it, discuss it before anything happens. Nothing is even planned or nothing's happening. But so, moving forward, in the past, that's why nothing was brought to the planning commission because of this kind of stuff. This is counterproductive, honestly. It really, really is. And so we respect you. You were hired to do your position. You consult with the lawyer. You have all the folks in place that needs to be there. We have to trust that and respect that instead of drilling her like she's done something wrong. I mean, this is, it's a little disrespectful. She is really trying to bring us in with the council members to inform us. But I feel really uncomfortable what's kind of just happened this last 30 minutes or so. Very uncomfortable. And I will remove myself from the council if this kind of stuff is done. I don't want to be a part of this. I want to work as a team. She's trying to bring us in the fold. And right now we're not being kind to her. And so I just like to say that.
Very good.
Well, I'm sorry if I didn't respect you, but there's questions that I'm approaching you with.
Exactly.
I feel like it's important at the
Hold on,
time.
y'all have to ask that you can't talk without first saying.
Before we move forward, then,
Yeah.
what is going to be the best process for requesting the form moving forward so that way everybody can for that subject?
It's a very good question. I think that could be dealt with. I only want to respond to Mr. Williams because I agree with him and I think that our zoning administrator is terrific. She is someone that's very knowledgeable and the town is needed. And the town has made a lot of mistakes in the past because it did not have a professional zoning administrator. So I support her fully. And my comments are only because we're having a discussion to find out. My big issue and I will reemphasize it because I am not attacking her, and I fully support Ms. Washington and also our clerk as well, the whole staff. My question is, since when did we start talking about individual streets that people use that they know that's on the map without them being notified? That's my big objection. I had both property owners that border on this contacting me, complaining over it. And they have the right to know more. I didn't know a thing, and I didn't know anything until we asked tonight. That's the issue. How does this come about? In the past, you either opened or closed them. That's an option. If you open or close them, you pay a fee and you hold a public hearing and everybody in town knows about it and the council makes a decision at the end. If you're going to give a right of way to someone, I don't know that it's ever been done in this town. Maybe it is done, but I don't know that it's happened. So when people start questioning and asking why this is being done, they ask, well, what's intended to be done? Normally, you can get an easement from anybody that has a way out. You just approach them and you work out a deal and do it. If you're going to do it with the town probably should know what the plan is. And that's where I see the planning commission didn't know. If you don't want to bring it to us, that's fine. But still, those people, like those two people sitting there, should not be wondering how this is happening in my estimation. And that's what's missing. So come up with a policy. But the policy is not one that the planning commission has ever been involved with before. Maybe you want us to, maybe you don't. But keep the public informed. Otherwise, transparency looks really bad, in my opinion.
Mr. and Mr.
Not an objection or criticism.
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I don't know that we can have it both ways though, right? Because we have, as a commission for the last year,
Right.
asked
Right.
the council, we have asked the mayor, we have asked the paid staff
Yeah.
to keep us informed, right?
Okay.
Unless we wait for the application to be submitted and then brought to us
Right.
for us to recommend to council, which is a fine procedure.
Or not. if it's
Otherwise,
not-
we don't know until the application is filled out. I feel like this is
You're right. On that, you are
more,
absolutely right.
I'm just wondering if there's, well, clearly there is more to this than I am aware of that I don't know that I need to be aware of
Sure.
on some level that I am not interested in knowing about.
Right.
That said, I feel like when I received this and looked at it, I said, okay, so they're requesting it, we're talking about it, there's not an application. We don't have a public hearing, so I know it
It's
has
a discussion.
a discussion.
I can-
That's
I
just
can-
my inference, right, based on the facts
I
given.
will explain, because this is on tape, and everybody can look at it. Mrs. Covert can look at it, they can look at it, the other property owner that hadn't come tonight
That
can
won't
look
come.
at it. The situation is, the chairman approves the agenda. I ask for the things in talking with the town manager as to what would be included. Then came back with a measure of 9th Street is what I looked at. And I looked at.
I didn't put that on there.
That was originally what I saw that came to me. And I said, how? Why? Why is that? Because do these people know?
I don't like
And
that.
they didn't,
I'm gonna leave.
they weren't notified. But so it got changed to possible street closures and doesn't see them, but yet that's what we're talking about tonight. So.
In my
that's the
office
issue.
the other
I'm not
day,
criticizing you. I
You
don't-
are, because you're not telling the whole story, which is in my office the other day. I said it is not a street closure. It needs to be changed. It's discussion of an easement. It's not a closure. It didn't get changed. It wasn't brought up. That's what this is all for. This is what happens when we have 2 meetings during the week. I'm sorry. We as staff, with everything that's going on that you guys are reading in the paper and seeing on the media, we cannot do our jobs correctly when we have all of this going on. So I got you the discussion. We talked about it. The discussion was about an easement discussion, how we felt about that, what it looked like. It's not about an application. It happens to be about a particular property, but this will come up in the future for other people to bring up. And the town has to have some kind of understanding, the town being me, an understanding of where we all stand. It will go to the council. The council will give me their opinion. I will have to come up with what policy do we want as a town for things like this? There are roads in the town. There are alleys in the town. We cannot close them. We should not close them. We should be using them for our own benefit as a town. And that is what I'm going for. It was nothing more. I did speak to Mr. and Mrs. Spedden regarding what was being discussed tonight. I was informed that the other neighbor would not show up to the meeting and didn't want to come to the meeting, that wanted to understand what was going, and they were going to explain to him. He asked, or she, or whoever it was, asked for that. That was my understanding. So I'm sorry if it feels like I'm not prepared or I don't have something, but it literally was just a discussion for information. That's why it's called a discussion. I apologize if it was done the wrong way. I did refer to the attorney for some information. I got back some information, and really, we don't have to have a public hearing for an easement. The easement is the easiest, fastest, and best way for each party to have what they need. That's all.
Let's put this to bed. You don't need to apologize. I don't want an apology. All I want people to realize is that, yes, maybe we have a different opinion on this. In my opinion, you shouldn't be saying, and it shouldn't be said, that people can get a closure or an opening or an easement without the notification of certainly the immediate people involved. I think it ought to be a public hearing, but it's not my call. Council can do what council wants to do, but the issue is public awareness. We're having a good discussion, and now it's all on tape. But I would strongly advocate and recommend to you all, if you're involved in the planning commission, and it does work through us in the future, if that's the way it's going to be, is that a decision on opening or closing, have a public hearing, and if it's a right of way, then at least have the information provided so it can, all the impact of it can be considered before you just do it. I do not think the zoning administrator should be able to grant it. And I don't know that you're asking that you be able to, not saying you are, but I certainly say, I don't feel that the zoning administrator who is not elected should be deciding that. I think the council should be deciding that, and that the adjoining property owners would be irate if they weren't allowed the opportunity to know about it. And that's where we were now, because it wasn't advertised on an agenda publicly that this was going to be discussed. And these people had to raise objections to someone to have the opportunity to find out what we found out tonight. That's a sad commentary, in my opinion. And it's not reflecting on you. It's just a situation I don't want to see out of hand. And that's why I've expressed what I've said. Either one of you all that would like to comment, please do. You go first.
I would like to, please. Actually, I do have an opinion on an easement actually doesn't affect either property owner because they don't have access to 8th Street. They, other than if they're using it and it's not their property, it doesn't affect them at all because if I hit 20 feet in the middle just to make a driveway, it doesn't affect them because they theoretically can't use 8th Street now. So it doesn't affect them at all. But at this point, I think everybody here has clearly felt that there is a bias against me from Mr. Cubey. And it's not funny. And I would ask that you recuse yourself because I think you've demonstrated that, that you're saying I've only owned it for 2 or 3 months, that, everybody wants to know why I own the property and that influences the decision of closing or not closing it. And I don't think that's appropriate. And
How long do you?
It doesn't. I'm just saying is that I don't think that's appropriate. I think it doesn't. Excuse me. Let me finish.
You're not running this meeting, Ms. Culver.
You told me I could speak.
I did, but I don't get to. You don't get to speak as long as you care to.
So this is a problem, guys.
This is the bias.
This is a problem.
I've asked him to recuse himself.
We will end this, but I will say to you,
I've asked you
there's
to
a bias
recuse
by
yourself.
you against me, so don't.
Just sit. I mean,
All right.
I've asked you to recuse yourself.
Recuse myself.
Yes, and to just step back and let the other planning commissioners finish this.
Would you wrap up in 30 seconds, please? And then I will let them speak what they want to speak, and then we will end this discussion.
Okay, well, I still ask that you recuse yourself from this particular issue since you seem to be able
He
to
didn't,
share
he
it.
didn't even know you would be here to present this, but it was even any.
Now, I'm just trying to get access to my land.
All
And
right,
it's clear that you
all
are
right, let's.
working to
let's
prevent
get a
that. And you
motion.
gave me 30 seconds and you're talking over me.
All right.
So it's clear I'm not gonna get any berries. And you keep laughing at me and I've had enough.
Well,
You're inappropriate.
you have a way of trying to tell everybody what you feel.
I don't
And
have.
how about what they feel? They are the ones.
We have discussed
Would you
it.
say-
I've discussed it with the other.
Sit there.
You asked me a question, I'm answering the question.
I think there's a motion to adjourn the meeting on the floor. Yes, there was a
Ms. Newt
motion.
Did it. Ms. Newt and Mr. Thaler second the motion to adjourn.
I thought we had.
Let's have a vote. All in favor of adjourning for the night.
She was just gonna give me the right place. So
We'll
I'm
move
sorry.
that.
I'm not taking any. Just 1 minute after.